There is a small, enigmatic organ hidden deep within the human brain, one that has fascinated philosophers, scientists, and spiritual seekers for centuries: the pineal gland. Barely the size of a grain of rice, yet spoken of with reverence as if it were a cosmic gateway. In ancient traditions, they called it the third eye, a window not just to perception, but to realms beyond ordinary reality. René Descartes once described it as the seat of the soul, the point where the immaterial mind and physical body converge. Long before him, ancient cultures carved symbols of eyes into temples, built pyramids that aligned with stars, and spoke of a hidden center of vision beyond sight. What is it about this tiny gland that inspired such awe across civilizations and across time? Modern science tells us it regulates hormones like melatonin, guiding our circadian rhythm, protecting our body through sleep, and synchronizing our internal clocks with the cycles of nature. But mystics and seekers insist its true power extends beyond biology. They say it is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual, the doorway through which deeper states of consciousness emerge. So the question becomes, is the pineal gland merely a regulator of sleep, or is it a hidden instrument of awakening? In this video, we'll explore its mysteries, both scientific and spiritual. We'll uncover what truly happens in those sacred hours between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., and why countless traditions across history believe this tiny gland connects us to dimensions far beyond the physical. Part 1. The Anatomy and Science of the Pineal Gland. To begin unraveling the mystery of the pineal gland, we must first understand it in its most tangible form. This small, pine cone-shaped structure, no larger than 8 millimeters in length and weighing just a fraction of a gram, rests in the center of the brain, cradled between the two hemispheres. Its position is striking, balanced perfectly between the left and the right, above the brainstem and near the thalamus, which processes and relays sensory information. It is as if the pineal gland sits at the crossroads of perception and awareness, quietly influencing the way we experience reality. Biologically, it belongs to the endocrine system, a network of glands that release hormones directly into the bloodstream. Despite its size, its influence ripples through the entire body. The pineal gland's most well-known role is the production of melatonin, often known as the sleep hormone. Melatonin regulates our circadian rhythm, our internal clock that governs sleep and wake cycles. As daylight fades, the pineal gland responds to darkness by releasing melatonin, signaling the body to rest, repair, and restore. But melatonin does more than regulate sleep. It is also a potent antioxidant, defending the brain against oxidative stress, neutralizing free radicals, and slowing the cellular damage that comes with aging. It works as an anti-inflammatory as well, protecting tissues from chronic damage. In other words, while you sleep, the pineal gland is orchestrating a symphony of healing. This is why quality sleep is directly linked to longevity, memory, mood, and even resistance to disease. And melatonin is not its only gift. The pineal gland also influences the production of serotonin, often called the happiness molecule. Serotonin stabilizes mood, enhances memory, regulates appetite, and supports emotional resilience. Low serotonin levels are strongly associated with depression, anxiety, and even insomnia, showing us how closely this gland ties our inner emotional state with our physical well-being. Beyond these well-studied chemicals, the pineal gland also produces lesser-known compounds like arginine, vasopressin, which helps induce deep, restorative sleep, and epitalin, a peptide linked to healthy aging, cognitive sharpness, and the synchronization of biological rhythms. These substances suggest that the pineal gland's role is not just in daily survival, but in the optimization of human potential. What makes the pineal gland so unique is its sensitivity to light. Unlike other glands in the body, the pineal gland has photoreceptor-like cells, similar to those in our eyes. It actually detects light and darkness, relaying that information to regulate the cycles of sleep, mood, and hormonal balance. This is why artificial light, especially blue light from screens, can disrupt its natural rhythm, suppress melatonin production, and erode sleep quality. In a very literal sense, the pineal gland is our inner eye, perceiving not external images, but the rhythm of light itself. And here, science and spirituality begin to overlap, because if the pineal gland can perceive light, might it also perceive something more subtle? Could it be designed not only to regulate physical cycles, but also to attune us to higher dimensions of reality? Ancient cultures seem to think so. For them, this gland was never just biology, it was the third eye, the gateway to intuition, dreams, and the unseen. Thus, the pineal gland straddles two worlds, the measurable domain of hormones and neurochemistry, and the mysterious domain of consciousness and spirit. To explore it fully, we must hold both perspectives at once. Part 2. The pineal gland as the third eye. If science describes the pineal gland as the regulator of sleep, light, and cycles of renewal, then spirituality has long regarded it as something far greater, a hidden organ of perception often called the third eye. The idea of the third eye appears again and again across civilizations, as if cultures separated by oceans and centuries all intuited the same truth. In ancient Egypt, the Eye of Horus symbolized divine sight and spiritual protection. Scholars and mystics alike have noted its resemblance to the cross-section of the human brain, with the pineal gland at its center. To the Egyptians, the eye was not simply a symbol of vision, but of inner vision, the ability to perceive truths that the ordinary senses cannot detect. In India, the yogic traditions describe the Ajna chakra, located between the eyebrows, as the seat of wisdom and intuition. This chakra is directly linked to the pineal gland. To open the third eye through meditation and discipline is to awaken higher perception, an inner clarity that transcends illusion and reveals the deeper patterns of life. In Buddhism, monks have long taught that enlightenment is not about acquiring something new, but about seeing reality clearly. The pineal gland, understood as the subtle organ of perception, becomes the gateway to this expanded awareness. Similarly, in Taoist practices, the heavenly eye is cultivated through stillness and breath, allowing practitioners to experience harmony with the cosmos. Even Western philosophy has touched on this mystery. René Descartes, centuries ago, speculated that the pineal gland was the seat of the soul, the point where the immaterial mind interacts with the physical body. Though modern neuroscience has moved away from this claim, the symbolic weight of his idea still echoes, the pineal gland as the bridge between body and spirit. What unites all of these traditions is the recognition that this tiny gland, nestled at the center of the brain, is not just a biological organ, but a metaphysical organ, an interface between the physical and the spiritual. To activate the third eye is to transcend the narrow lens of the ego and step into a more expansive perception of reality. But why is the pineal gland associated with perception at all? Perhaps the answer lies in its sensitivity to light. Just as our physical eyes detect external light, the pineal gland seems designed to detect internal light, the subtle radiance of consciousness itself. When spiritual texts speak of illumination or of awakening to the light of truth, they might not be speaking metaphorically. They may be pointing to a very real experience mediated through this hidden gland. It is said that when the pineal gland is awakened, one begins to perceive life with a deeper clarity. Intuition sharpens, synchronicities increase, dreams become more vivid, and a profound sense of interconnectedness arises. In this sense, the pineal gland is not simply about seeing more, but about seeing differently. And so we arrive at a fascinating intersection. Science shows us that the pineal gland regulates cycles of light and darkness, while spirituality tells us it is the gateway to inner illumination. The question then becomes, is the pineal gland simply a regulator of biology, or is it the hidden organ through which the infinite perceives itself? Part 3. The Sacred Hours of 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. Across cultures, mystics and seekers have pointed to the late night and early morning hours as sacred, a time when the veil between worlds grows thin. Curiously, modern science points to the same window of time as the period when the pineal gland is most active. Between 10 and 3, this tiny gland orchestrates a profound symphony within the body and, perhaps, beyond it. From a biological perspective, the darkness of night signals the pineal gland to release melatonin. Levels rise sharply around 10 p.m., peaking in the deep hours of the night before gradually falling as dawn approaches. This cycle does more than regulate sleep. It activates processes of cellular repair, detoxification, and neural consolidation. During these hours, the brain reorganizes itself by strengthening memory, cleansing toxins, and recalibrating its delicate networks. But here is where the mystery deepens. While science measures the biochemical benefits of melatonin, spiritual traditions have long described the night as a portal of awakening. In yogic practice, midnight meditation is said to still the mind more easily, as the distractions of the world are quiet. In Sufi mysticism, practitioners rise before dawn to enter states of ecstatic union. In Buddhism, monks sit through the night observing the mind in its most unguarded states. Why? Because in these hours, when the pineal gland is most active, perception changes. Dreams grow vivid, intuitions surface, and states of deep silence become more accessible. Many report spontaneous spiritual insights arriving in the stillness of these hours, as though the gland itself were tuning the body and mind into higher frequencies of awareness. Modern neuroscience offers hints as to why. The pineal gland not only produces melatonin, but also influences serotonin, the happiness neurotransmitter. It may even secrete trace amounts of dimethyltryptamine, also known as DMT if you follow Joe Rogan, sometimes called the spirit molecule. While research into DMT is still emerging, many believe it may explain the dreamlike visions and altered state of consciousness reported during meditation and sleep in these sacred hours. From a spiritual perspective, this is the window when the external world sleeps and the inner world awakens. The distractions of daylight, the demands of work, noise, and constant sensory input dissolve into silence. What remains is the subtle hum of awareness itself. To sit in meditation during these hours is to step into alignment with the natural rhythm of the pineal gland. A time when the body, mind, and spirit are uniquely attuned. Consider the paradox. While the physical body enters its deepest rest, the spirit becomes most alert. Ancient cultures knew this. They designed their practices around these hours not by accident, but because they observed the doorway it opened. The doorway to expanded perception, to revelation, to communion with the unseen. So between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., two things are happening simultaneously. Biologically, your body is repairing and renewing itself under the guidance of the pineal gland. But spiritually, your consciousness has greater access to subtler dimensions of reality, and together, they form a bridge, a moment when the material and the immaterial harmonize, when sleep becomes a temple and silence becomes a teacher. Part 4. Activating and strengthening the pineal gland. If the pineal gland is truly the bridge between body and spirit, then the question becomes, how do we care for it, nurture it, and activate its higher potential? While science only focuses on its physiological role, spiritual traditions have always emphasized practices to awaken what they call the third eye, cultivating perception beyond ordinary sight. The first key is light. The pineal gland is deeply sensitive to light cycles, which is why exposure to sunlight during the day and darkness at night are crucial. In the modern world, artificial light, particularly the blue light from screens, disrupts melatonin production and dulls the natural rhythm of the gland. To support its natural function, spend time in the morning sun, and at night, also dim the artificial lights. This simple practice honors the pineal gland's connection to the cycles of nature, the rising and setting of the sun. The second key is silence and stillness. Meditation, especially between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., amplifies the pineal gland's activity. Breathwork techniques such as diaphragmatic breathing or alternate nostril breathing oxygenate the brain and calm the nervous system, creating the inner environment for activation. Some traditions teach focusing attention on the point between the eyebrows, visualizing a radiant light there to stimulate the energy of the third eye. Over time, this concentration opens a subtle perception, a sense of intuition and clarity that feels as though the gland itself has awakened. Third is purification. Just as the body accumulates toxins, so too can the pineal gland become calcified over time, largely from poor diet and exposure to certain chemicals. While this is still debated in scientific circles, spiritual disciplines have long advocated purification through clean eating, hydration, and natural living. Diets rich in whole foods, clean water, and minimal processed substances support not only physical health, but also the vibrancy of consciousness. Fourth is attunement through intention. The pineal gland doesn't simply respond to biology, it also resonates with awareness. Practices like visualization, chanting mantras, or contemplative prayer align the mind with subtler dimensions. Many seekers report inner lights, colors, or visions when focusing their attention inward. Phenomena described in both ancient spiritual texts and modern accounts of deep meditation. Whether symbolic or literal, they mark the pineal gland as more than a physical gland and as a center of consciousness itself. When we combine these practices, the pineal gland begins to awaken not just as a regulator of sleep, but as a key to transformation. Your intuition sharpens, dreams become more vivid, and an expanded sense of connection arises. Old thought patterns dissolve, replaced by clarity, peace, and a quiet joy that does not depend on external circumstances. This is what many traditions call the opening of the third eye, the realization that reality is not confined to what the five senses perceive, but extends into subtler, invisible realms of energy and awareness. And as this awakening unfolds, something profound happens. Life itself takes on new depth. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The simple act of breathing, watching a sunrise, or sitting in silence becomes infused with meaning. Through the pineal gland, the veil begins to thin, and we remember that we are not merely bodies moving through time, but conscious beings deeply connected to the universe itself. And in conclusion, the pineal gland may be small, but its significance is anything but. It is both a scientific marvel and a spiritual mystery, a regulator of sleep, mood, and biological cycles, and at the same time, a symbol of awakening, intuition, and connection to higher realms. Between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., when the world grows quiet, this tiny gland becomes most active, offering us the chance to step beyond ordinary perception. Whether through vivid dreams, Profound moments of meditation or flashes of deep intuition, the pineal gland invites us to remember that we are more than flesh and bone. We are consciousness itself, vast and infinite. And when we learn to care for this gland, aligning our rhythms with nature, sitting in silence, practicing stillness, and nourishing our body and mind, we open the doorway to a life lived with greater clarity, harmony, and purpose. In this awakening, we rediscover the truth that has always been here, that reality is not limited to what we see, but is a living field of energy, awareness, and connection. So as you reflect on this journey, I encourage you to make space for those sacred hours of the night, to turn inward and to explore the silence where your own higher awareness waits. Because within you lies the very key to awakening, and it has always been there, in the quiet light of your own consciousness. And if this video resonated with you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into consciousness, spirituality, and the mysteries of the human mind. Leave a comment below, sharing your own reflections or experiences, or even the moment of this video that resonated with you the most. Until next time, stay present, stay aware, and trust the light within.